Space has been misnamed for centuries. We called it emptiness. We treated it as nothing. We assumed it was the stage, not the actor. But emptiness cannot bend light. Emptiness cannot slow time. Emptiness cannot collapse around mass. Emptiness cannot stretch across billions of years. The universe behaves as if space is doing something. So the first step is simple. Stop calling it nothing. Space is a medium. A physical, continuous, structured medium. Not a void, not a backdrop, not a coordinate grid. A medium with tension. A medium with elasticity. A medium with the capacity to change state. This is the architecture of the universe, the thing itself. Everything else is what this medium does. A building needs two things: the architecture, the physical structure, the framework, the blueprint that explains how it works. Physics has powerful mathematical frameworks, but the underlying physical architecture of space is rarely defined explicitly. Medium is the architecture of space. Set, or Spatial Equilibrium Theory, is the framework. AoS tells us what the universe is. Set tells us how to understand it. This is the reconstruction. The medium follows two rules. It can oscillate. It seeks equilibrium. Disturb it, and it oscillates. Imbalance it, and it reorganizes. From these two principles, everything emerges. Not metaphorically, mechanically. The medium has 7 behaviors. Oscillation, the medium repeating a pattern. Collapse, the medium flowing inward toward higher frequency. Curl, collapse stabilizing itself through rotation. Stabilization, collapse and curl locking into persistent patterns. Propagation, patterns moving as the medium updates itself. Stretching, tension gradients altering oscillation spacing. Reorganization, the medium adjusting to erase imbalance. These are the verbs of the universe, the grammar behind every phenomenon. Light exposes the medium. Every optical effect is a fingerprint of a real substance. Light slows in water. Light bends in glass. Light splits in a prism. Light diffracts through a slit. Light interferes with itself. Light tunnels through barriers. These are not behaviors of a particle. These are not behaviors of a wave in nothing. These are behaviors of a wave in a medium. And the most important proof, when light leaves water and re-enters air, it instantly regroups. It regains its original speed, its original spacing, its original pattern. Only a medium can do this. Only a medium can impose its own oscillation rate. Only a medium can restore a pattern after distortion. This is the smoking gun. Light behaves exactly like a disturbance in a real substance. Space is that substance. The old architecture cannot explain redshift, so it invents dark energy. It cannot explain galactic rotation, so it invents dark matter. It cannot explain gravity, so it bends space-time. It cannot explain time, so it calls time a dimension, then admits it behaves differently everywhere. It cannot explain light, so it declares light a particle and a wave simultaneously. It cannot explain motion, so it treats motion as something objects do, separate from the space they move through. It cannot explain structure, so it layers fields on top of fields, forces on top of forces, particles on top of particles. These are not explanations. These are symptoms of missing architecture. Set is the framework that makes the architecture intelligible. Set explains why light has one speed, because the medium has one maximum oscillation rate. Set explains why time slows near mass, because collapse changes the medium's oscillation density. Set explains why galaxies rotate too fast, because collapse and curl redistribute tension, not mass. Set explains why the universe appears to expand, because light stretches as it travels through a relaxing medium. Set explains why motion is not travel, because patterns ride the reorganization of the medium. Set explains why matter persists, because stabilization locks collapse and curl into repeating forms. Set is not a new theory. Set is the missing blueprint. Light becomes oscillation. Gravity becomes collapse. Spin becomes curl. Matter becomes stabilization. Time becomes counting of cycles. Motion becomes reorganization. Structure becomes equilibrium. One medium, two principles, seven behaviors. Everything else is expression. Space is not emptiness. Space is the architecture of the universe. A single medium, a unified ontology, a coherent framework. The universe is no longer a patchwork of mysteries. It is a single system behaving exactly as a medium behaves. AoS 1 declares the architecture. AoS 2 begins with the first behavior of that architecture, oscillation, expressed as light.